Alright, guys, so today we are going to be ranking the most dangerous snakes, the most dangerous venomous snakes in all of the United States. I don't know some of these, so give me grace, and yeah. Don't know what that is. This is a western diamondback rattlesnake. They have potent venom, like pretty potent, but it's not that potent, but they're really common, like really common where they are. So they give a lot of bites. They're not that bitey, because it's just humans that make them bitey because they hurt them. But they're really common, and I think they're responsible for the most deaths. So I'm gonna put them at the S tier. I think that's an Arizona coral snake, and they are very venomous. Very venomous. They're more venomous than the western diamondback rattlesnake, but they're not very common and not very bitey. So I'm B tier or A tier. I think hard B tier. It's a hard B tier. No, it's a hard beer tier. Ah, yes. Texas coral snake. That's more venomous than. Well, actually, no. I'm putting that at A tier. They're pretty damn venomous. But Texas coral snake is more venomous than Arizona coral snake by a notch, just a notch. The eastern coral snake, they're pretty venomous. Definitely aren't as venomous as these two. So I'm gonna put them at a B tier, top of the B tier. Eastern diamondback rattlesnake, they are pretty venomous. They are really venomous, and they're definitely more common than coral snakes. And they're bitey if you hurt them. Just if you hurt them. They're not usually bitey if you just walk to them. So I'm putting them above the coral snakes, but not quite S tier. The Arizona black rattlesnake, they're pretty venomous, but not that venomous. And they're not that common, but kind of common. So I'm gonna put them hard C tier, like hard C tier. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a Carolina pygmy rattlesnake. And they're venomous, but not too venomous. They're really not that venomous. It's a low chance they'll kill you, but they'll still definitely kill you, and it's pretty painful. So I'm gonna put them C tier below Arizona black rattlesnake. I think there's two copperheads here. I don't know which one's I think one of them's the Osage and one of them's the northern, but I might be wrong, so correct me. But I think that's the northern. So Osage, they're not as venomous as they're about the same venom as the northern, but they're not as common. And they're not venomous, not really venomous. Way less than the Carolina pygmy rattlesnake. I'm gonna put them in D tier. Yeah, there's no F tier because I love all snakes, and it's just venomous. I don't want to give a snake an F tier. And the prairie rattlesnake, this is not that venomous. They're pretty common though. They're really common, but they're not that venomous. They'll hurt you need medical attention, but there's a really low chance they'll kill you. But they're pretty common. So they're less venom. I don't know. I'm going to put them above copperhead. So northern copperhead, they're more common than Osage, so I'm putting them right there. But prairie rattlesnakes are more common than both. Northern cottonmouth. These are pretty. These are more venomous than. They're super common, and they're more venomous than copperheads. They're still D tier because they're not that venomous, but I'd say they're above prairie rattlesnake. Florida cottonmouth, about the same venom. I do not know why they made it a subspecies, but they're less common, but they're still pretty common. So I'd put them like that. I think this is a midget-faded rattlesnake. I'm probably wrong, but I think it is. Or a northern Pacific rattlesnake. But these are more venomous than prairie rattlesnakes, but they're not super common. So I'm gonna put them. They're like most venomous out of all of these, but definitely not as common. I'm gonna put them, and not as bitey, but yeah, I'll put them right there. Yeah. And copperheads aren't very common either. Well, they're common, but they're hard to find. That's another western diamondback rattlesnake, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not going to rank that one. And I don't know what that is. But this is a timber rattlesnake. And they're pretty common, and they're pretty venomous. So I'm going to put them in S tier. They're pretty venomous. They're more venomous than western. Well, actually, I don't think that, but they're pretty common and pretty venomous. So I'm putting them at S tier. I don't know what that is. Sorry. That I don't know what that is either. That's another prairie rattlesnake, so I'm not gonna rank that. And this is a sidewinder, some sort of sidewinder. So, they're really not that common, but they're definitely venomous. But they're definitely pretty venomous. But they're not that common, and they I think for Carolinas, they're not super common. And sidewinders do have potent, but not super potent. I do like that. And that's another timber rattlesnake. That's a banded rock rattlesnake, I think. I could be wrong about this too. They're pretty venomous too, and they're common. They're pretty venomous. I'd put them right there. Arizona black rattlesnakes are more venomous, though. Dusky pygmy rattlesnake. That's what that is. They're more venomous than way more common than Carolinas, and they're pretty venomous. I put them above sidewinders in C tier. I don't know what that is. It might be another midget faded. I don't know what that is. But that last thing is a mottled rock rattlesnake, I'm pretty sure. And they're, I think they're more venomous than banded. But I could be wrong about that too. Guys, correct me in the comments, please. I'm not like a snake expert, just I know a few things. So yeah, and that is the most dangerous snakes tier list in the USA. Also, I just want to say that snakes are not gonna bite you. They're really not dangerous. They're gonna bite you if you try to kill them, if you try to step on them, And if you corner them and get really, really close to them, or yeah, snakes are awesome.